Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're diving into the Pittsburgh Steelers and how they shot themselves in the foot during this game. Despite being down 17-0, the Steelers had multiple chances to come out on top. There was a controversial, unnecessary roughness call on Minkah Fitzpatrick that I think was completely unfair. If that call hadn't happened, the Steelers might have erased a touchdown from the Colts, and who knows how things could have played out from there. That call really hurt them, but despite that, they fought back. Down 2 scores, they closed the gap to 10 points and managed to score a touchdown. Then, they got the ball back with time on the clock because the Colts made a questionable decision by throwing on 2nd and 7 and then again on 3rd and 16 after getting sacked. At this point, it looked like the Steelers had a real shot. They had the momentum after that touchdown and a 3-and-out from the defense. But then, disaster struck. A botched snap. Fields wasn't even looking when the ball was snapped to him, put them in a tough 2nd and long. On 3rd down, they played it safe with a checkdown pass to get some yards back. They managed to stop the clock, setting up a 4th and 10 or 4th and 11, something they could have worked with. Indy's defense had been a disaster in the second half, so the Steelers had no trouble moving the ball down the field. But between the botched snap and Najee Harris not getting out of bounds, the clock kept ticking. They rushed their next play, the pressure came, and Fields overthrew the ball. It should have been picked off. This game was a total mess for the Steelers. After starting the season 3-0 with a defense that looked like one of the best in the league, they went to Indy to face a struggling Colts team with Anthony Richardson, one of the worst quarterbacks statistically. Richardson had a 49% completion rate with just 3 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. But right from the start, the Colts marched down the field and scored. They had a big pass to Michael Pittman Jr. Jonathan Taylor got going, and the Steelers were suddenly down 17-0. On offense, the Steelers just couldn't get it together in the first half, which has been their biggest issue so far this season: slow starts. In the NFL, you can't expect to win games if you're always playing catch-up. And that's exactly what happened here. Trying to climb back from 17 down is never a good strategy. Now, if we get into the stats, Justin Fields finished with 312 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and added 2 more on the ground. That's over 360 total yards from scrimmage. He was incredible in this game, no doubt. Statistically, it was probably his best performance. But more importantly, just from watching him, his decision-making and playmaking were on point. Honestly, if the Steelers hadn't snapped the ball early, or if Najee had gotten out of bounds, and if the call on Minkah had been correct, the Steelers might have won. Losses like this one always hurt the most, those games you feel like you should have won but end up losing because of your own mistakes. Pittsburgh's run game was also disappointing. Sure, the numbers looked okay because Cordarrelle Patterson had some good runs, 6 for 43 yards, but he left the game early. Fields added 55 yards on the ground, averaging 5.5 yards per carry, which is always a nice boost from your quarterback. Najee Harris, on the other hand, had a rough day with just 18 yards on 13 carries. His season average is now under 3.8 yards per carry, which isn't good. The Steelers were also dealing with some injuries. Jaylen Warren was out, and Patterson left early, so rookie running back Champ Glenn had to step in. But he's still learning, especially when it comes to pass protection, and that was a big advantage for the Colts. Despite all of this, the Steelers managed to score 21 points in the second half. But when you only put up 3 points in the first half, it's hard to win games. One positive to take away, though, is that coming back from a 17-point deficit shows this team has the potential to make some noise in the AFC. Steelers fans might not want to hear it right now because the loss is fresh, but they showed real fight. The biggest question before this game was whether Fields could lead the team if the defense struggled. Well, he answered that by making plays when they needed it most. And let's not forget George Pickens. he lost a fumble at the goal line, which was another huge turnover. Add that to the penalty on Minka, the botched snap, and Najee not getting out of bounds, and it was just mistake after mistake. Fields wasn't perfect. He made some mistakes too. But overall, this loss was a heartbreaker for the Steelers. I know I'm jumping around a bit, but let's talk about Justin Fields' fumble. Now, technically, it was on him, but the running back messed up the protection, which let a bunch of defenders come at Fields untouched. Fields tried to roll out and make a play, but he slipped and lost the football. That fumble knocked the Steelers out of field goal range, and while it didn't lead to any Colts points, a turnover still stings, no matter what. The Steelers had a rough day with ball security. They fumbled 3 times and lost 2 of them. It wasn't pretty, and to make things worse, their defense wasn't at its best either. There were moments when they made plays, but overall, it wasn't the dominating performance we're used to seeing from them. TJ Watt, for example, was practically invisible, which is unusual. Colts right tackle Braden Smith did a great job holding his own, though he got a lot of help with tight ends chipping in to protect against Watt. On the other side, Joe Flacco threw for 2 touchdowns and 168 yards. The numbers might not look amazing, 16 of 26 for 168 yards, but the guy was clutch on third downs. He looked like vintage Flacco, the same guy who helped lead the Ravens to a Super Bowl. Everyone talks about how great the Ravens' defense was back then, but Flacco played a huge part in that Super Bowl run, and he showed flashes of that today. The Steelers had game planned for Anthony Richardson, but when he left the game with a hip injury after taking a clean hit from Minka Fitzpatrick, they had to adjust to Flacco, and Flacco and Richardson are completely different quarterbacks. Richardson is young, mobile, and athletic, while Flacco is a pocket passer with a big arm and years of experience. Flacco has been playing football since Richardson was a kid, which really shows the gap in experience. If I'm being honest, Flacco coming in gave the Colts an edge. Jonathan Taylor had a solid game too, rushing 21 times for 88 yards. The Colts ran for 133 yards in total, and their efficiency on the ground was nearly identical to the Steelers. But the difference was that the Colts got more out of their starting running back, while Najee Harris struggled. Cordarrelle Patterson, technically the third-string back, had a great drive, but other than that, the Steelers' run game was a letdown. Michael Pittman Jr. had a big day receiving, catching 6 passes for 113 yards. Josh Downs chipped in with 8 catches for 82 yards. Getting Downs back and healthy was a huge boost for the Colts, especially on third downs where he broke tackles and extended drives. The Steelers just couldn't consistently make the key stops when it mattered most. Richardson did fumble once, but luckily for the Colts, their center recovered it. Overall, it was one of those games where, if you're a Steelers fan, you're left shaking your head. Falling behind 17-0 for the 4th straight week is simply inexcusable. The slow starts from the offense and the defense's bad moments cost them big time. Good teams find a way to win, and unfortunately, the Steelers couldn't pull it off this time. That's all I've got for you guys. Until next time, stay tuned. Peace.